Beekeepers are given all resources, empowered to act on their own judgment, outside the system.
Sure you want to do this, honeybee?
Looking for a fast way to track what's moving online right now? Head over to Qnotables.com. It's a centralized index of notable clips, headlines, and references being shared across the community, organized for quick browsing. Use it to spot patterns, pull links, and build your own research list. Qnotables.com. Browse the notables, verify the facts, stay informed. All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
Good morning and welcome in. We begin with the story putting the intelligence community back under the microscope. Senator Rand Paul is preparing a Senate hearing on COVID origins and federal intelligence conduct, with an active CIA whistleblower expected to testify. Paul says the witness will expose internal resistance to the lab leak assessment and efforts to keep key intelligence buried. The hearing puts the CIA, ODNI, and federal pandemic decision-making back in the spotlight as lawmakers demand records, answers, and accountability over what the government knew, when it knew it, and who worked to keep the truth from the American people. FBI Director Kash Patel also came prepared for a fight on Capitol Hill, testifying before the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee with documents, direct answers, and a combative defense of his leadership. Patel rejected media allegations, clashed with Democratic senators, and argued that the Bureau is being refocused on results, accountability, and public trust. The hearing showed a director willing to confront Washington pressure in public, not simply survive it. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is now warning reporters that subpoenas may be coming in classified materials investigations. That signals a tougher Justice Department posture on leaks, document handling, and unauthorized disclosures. If subpoenas reach journalists or media organizations, the case could become a major legal fight over national security, source protection, and whether classified information was knowingly mishandled. Joe Biden's lawyers are moving to block or delay the release of audio connected to his interactions with former special counsel Robert Hur's investigation and related records. The fight centers on recordings, transcripts, and public access under court deadlines. The case keeps Biden's memory, document handling, and Justice Department transparency back in the national spotlight. Domestic politics. President Trump shared a comparison involving J.D. Vance and Michelle Obama, framing it as a sharp contrast in tone, gratitude, and attitude toward the country. Supporters are using the clip to argue that Vance speaks with respect for working families, national sacrifice, and American opportunity, while Michelle Obama's remarks are being criticized as disconnected from ordinary citizens. The clip is now spreading quickly through conservative media circles. Reality TV figure Spencer Pratt is now making noise in the Los Angeles mayoral race, turning viral media attention into a direct attack on City Hall. His campaign is focused on homelessness, corruption, wildfire response, public safety, and frustration with city leadership. Pratt is forcing LA's political class to respond, and his message is clear. Los Angeles does not need another polished insider. It needs somebody willing to expose the machine and force City Hall to answer for years of failure. Spencer Pratt also used his PBD podcast appearance to accuse Los Angeles media and political insiders of trying to destroy him before his mayoral campaign gains more traction. Pratt argued that the same political and media circles that protected Los Angeles leadership are now trying to frame him as unserious. The interview gave him another viral platform and turned his campaign into a direct challenge against the LA establishment. Longtime immigration official David Venturella has been chosen to serve as acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Venturella has years of experience inside immigration enforcement and previously worked in the private detention industry. His selection comes as ICE remains central to the administration's immigration agenda, including detention policy, removals, enforcement operations, and the broader push to restore consequences inside the immigration system. Election integrity and redistricting. In Brooklyn, dead voters' signatures reportedly appeared on Democratic candidate petition forms. The case centers on ballot access paperwork and whether names were improperly submitted to qualify a candidate or slate for the primary. Election integrity often comes down to signatures, forms, deadlines, and chain of custody, and this case now demands a clear review of who submitted the paperwork, who verified it, and how dead voters ended up on live political documents. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall is pointing to a Supreme Court redistricting decision as an opening for Republicans to redraw the state's congressional map. Marshall said the goal is to put the legislature in the strongest legal position to create a map that could favor Republicans 7-0. The ruling immediately raises the stakes for control of the House and puts redistricting back at the center of the national political fight.
At shop.isawaya.com, everything you buy supports Qnotables, the place where people talk freely no matter what. Check out our Qn honey pot, a jar of yummy honey that's as strong as your voice. Put it on toaster and tea. It's not just honey, it's freedom in every bite. Then there's Qn butter, a smooth handmade skin cream that makes you feel good while you fight for what's right. Awesome wooden pieces for display only. Hang them up or set them out. They're for showing off Qn's tough spirit. Want to help even more? Get a proto membership. So go to shop.isawaya.com now and grab some goodies. Help Qnotables keep free speech alive, and let's keep the ideas flowing loud and free.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall is pointing to a Supreme Court redistricting decision as an opening for Republicans to redraw the state's congressional map. Marshall said the goal is to put the legislature in the strongest legal position to create a map that could favor Republicans 7-0. The ruling immediately raises the stakes for control of the House and puts redistricting back at the center of the national political fight. In South Carolina, 5 Republican senators joined Democrats to reject a push to reopen congressional redistricting, despite pressure from President Trump. The proposal could have allowed lawmakers to revisit the state's voting lines before the midterms. The vote is now being framed as a major break inside the party, with Trump allies accusing the holdouts of protecting the status quo instead of fighting for every possible seat. A U.S. appeals court has temporarily paused a lower court ruling that struck down President Trump's second round of global tariffs. The stay allows the tariffs to remain in place while the appeal continues. For now, the administration keeps collecting the duties, importers remain in limbo, and the broader fight over presidential trade authority moves deeper into the courts. International conflict and national security. President Trump blasted media coverage of the Iran conflict, saying reports that Iran is doing well militarily amount to virtual treason. Trump accused the press of giving false hope to the enemy and undermining the country during a military confrontation. The statement shows how sharply the White House is framing battlefield reporting, national morale, and wartime media criticism while the pressure campaign against Tehran continues. The Economic Fury pressure campaign is now targeting oil operations connected to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The goal is to weaken the regime's cash flow by going after energy networks that help fund military activity, terrorism, and regional aggression. Washington is making the IRGC's oil business a central target and sending a clear message that Iran's money machine is no longer safe. President Donald Trump is heading to China for a high-stakes meeting with President Xi Jinping, marking the first U.S. presidential visit to China in nearly a decade. Trade, technology, agriculture, Taiwan, and Iran are all expected to be on the table. Trump is also bringing major business figures, including NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, as he pushes China to open more doors to American companies. Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman Dan Caine testified on the Department of War budget, laying out the administration's defense priorities. The hearing focused on military readiness, modernization, troop safety, global threats, and the resources needed to keep America prepared. With conflicts and flashpoints expanding, the budget fight is becoming a national security fight. Chairman Dan Caine separately emphasized the need to keep U.S. soldiers safe through strength. His argument was direct. Weakness invites danger, while readiness prevents war. Caine pointed to modernization, clear command priorities, and force protection as essential pieces of America's defense posture. The core message was simple: protect the troops by making sure America's enemies know they cannot win. Senator John Kennedy questioned War Secretary Pete Hegseth about the UK's handling of Diego Garcia and the Chagos Islands, warning that Prime Minister Keir Starmer's approach could risk a critical US-UK military base. Kennedy argued the base is too important to hand over through weak diplomacy. Hegseth emphasized the strategic value of the facility and its role in American power projection. President Trump posted 51st State in reference to Venezuela, reigniting debate over American strategy in the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela remains a major focus because of oil, migration, organized crime, and the collapse of the Maduro regime. Whether symbolic or serious, Trump's message puts Venezuela back at the center of the America First foreign policy conversation. 2 Israeli soldiers have been sentenced to military prison after one desecrated a Virgin Mary statue in southern Lebanon and another photographed it. The Israeli military condemned the act and handed down short prison terms. The incident sparked anger among Christians and raised new questions about discipline, religious respect, and troop conduct in a tense conflict zone. The UK government has blocked 7 foreign activists from entering the country ahead of Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally. Officials said their presence would not be conducive to the public good, while Prime Minister Keir Starmer defended the move as a public order decision. Critics see it as political gatekeeping against right-wing voices before a major rally. A Ukrainian defense advisor has released drone footage showing a strange, spiked, hovering object seen during combat operations. The object is being described as a UFO, meaning unidentified, not confirmed alien technology. The footage is fueling debate among military watchers, drone analysts, and UFO researchers over whether it shows an experimental device, battlefield deception, sensor confusion, or something still unexplained.
Every voice matters. The power of free speech is more important than ever. Imagine a place where you can share your thoughts freely, explore new ideas, and engage in meaningful conversations anonymously. With online anonymity, you can express yourself without fear of judgment. It's about freedom, creativity, and connection. Join the conversation that matters. Embrace your voice. Celebrate your freedom. Visit 8kun.top today. That's 8kun.top.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
Crime and public corruption. Federal prosecutors have charged the operator of the Dolly, the ship involved in the deadly Baltimore Key Bridge collapse, along with a company employee. The charges include misconduct, obstruction, and false statements, after investigators said preventable safety failures helped cause the disaster. 6 construction workers died, and the case now moves from civil fallout into criminal accountability. The Baltimore bridge collapse case has now moved into criminal territory, with ship operators charged over alleged misconduct and obstruction. Prosecutors say failures tied to the dolly were not just tragic mistakes, but part of a larger breakdown in safety and accountability. 6 workers died when the bridge came down, and now the companies involved face serious questions about what they knew and what they failed to fix. A Minneapolis grocery store owner, Abdulwahid Muhammad, has been charged in a $1.1 million SNAP fraud scheme. Prosecutors say the case involved EBT card misuse and a long-running pattern of fraudulent transactions. If convicted, Muhammad faces serious prison time and fines. The case adds to growing scrutiny over food benefit fraud and weak oversight in public assistance programs. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco says he and Chris Hansen helped save 51 children from child predators in a 3-day operation. Bianco is using the case to argue that California politics and weak criminal justice policies make it harder to keep predators behind bars. The message is part law enforcement update, part campaign message, and part warning about public safety. Tech, health, and civil liberties. The FCC is proposing stronger Know Your Customer rules for phone service providers, including possible identity checks using legal names, addresses, government IDs, and related account information. The agency says the goal is to fight robocalls and caller ID abuse. Privacy critics warn it could turn basic phone access into another government ID checkpoint. A hantavirus outbreak linked to the MV Hondias cruise ship has triggered long quarantines for exposed passengers, including Americans taken to specialized facilities in Nebraska. Health officials say the Andes virus strain can have a long incubation period and rare person-to-person spread. The result is a strict 42-day quarantine window, even for some people who are not showing symptoms. A viral analysis says infants vaccinated at 2 months are 68% more likely to die the following month, based on Louisiana death record data. The serious question now is whether health officials will release the full data, methods, and independent review so parents can see exactly what was measured. When the subject is infant health, public trust depends on open records, clean analysis, and answers that do not dodge the numbers. Ivermectin is back in the cancer treatment debate after public figures and online commentators claimed it is outperforming chemotherapy. Researchers have studied ivermectin in lab and preclinical settings, while doctors continue debating whether serious human trials should test the claims under controlled medical conditions. The larger question is whether promising off-patent treatments are getting a fair review or being dismissed before the evidence is fully tested. Closing segment. That is the board this morning. A CIA whistleblower set to testify on COVID, Kash Patel bringing receipts to the Senate, Biden fighting the Her audio release, ICE getting new leadership, election fights breaking open in Brooklyn, Alabama, and South Carolina, Trump turning up pressure on Iran and China, and major criminal cases now moving forward from Baltimore to Minneapolis to California. The pattern is clear. Institutions are being tested, records are being demanded, and the public is watching who fights for transparency and who hides behind the machine.
Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com.
That's all for now. Stay alert, stay informed, and never hand your thinking over to anyone on a screen, including me. God bless you, God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. See you soon.